Hello. Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. I see Michael online. I can't tell which Michael it is. Maybe if you can give us a brief intro. Hello? Hello? Hi, Michael.
Yeah, Bear.
Yes,
It's been a while. How are
yes.
you doing?
I'm fine. Yourself?
I'm doing fine too.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start in a bit. We want to wait for 5 more minutes. Um,
All right. All right.
Others are
Okay.
prompting me that they joined too. So,
All right. Okay.
thank you. I want to take your phone name. Okay, just in case. Yeah. Okay. Hmm? She's mopping the kitchen. conference room. Which join the call and just be on it, okay, to add to the numbers. Hi Raymond, it's lovely to have you join us today.
The person you're calling is busy.
Okay, so I believe it's almost time. So I think we'll just start and then as other people join. Okay. So we normally start with the prayer. So Joshua, this month again, would you to be us the honors of giving us the opening prayer?
Okay, everyone.
Okay.
Short prayer.
Okay.
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the gift of life. And we pray that, Lord, let our discussion be fruitful. Grant the speaker wisdom and grant us understanding of the topic he's about to teach us. Let us apply this, that in our lives we see good results. We give you the glory, we give you the honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Okay. So we have Ikena join us today. He's the senior QA engineer for FIDO. And Ikena is so passionate about QA, like he tries to create the awareness for QA anywhere he goes. Yes. And so we spoke about this, and then he told me that yes, he wants to be a part of it. And so today here we are. Yes. And I think most of us joining are more of tech. We build products. Joshua has some experience with SAP and then Oracle as well. Michael and then Raymond as well. So Ikena, the floor is yours for you to give us a brief intro of yourself and then tell us some fun facts about yourself, then we go right into it.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi everybody, good evening. Like she said, my name is Ikenna, and the first thing you know is that the name Ikenna doesn't resonate the Ghanaian sound to you. It is a Nigerian sound, and I'm sure you must have heard that in movies before. So, yes, I'm Ikenna. I'm a Nigerian who found his path here in Ghana by school or by way of schooling, and ever since then, it's been just too much fun here in Ghana. likes of getting to know my path, getting to know what I do. And what she said earlier, I didn't just start as a QA person. I started as a software engineer. I started with development until I stumbled, and then I found the need for QA or for testing. Then I moved into testing. Basically, what's the fun about me? The fun thing about me, okay, basically, yes, I'm a software test engineer with Fido, like she mentioned earlier. And one of the fun thing about me is that outside work, I love football, right? And I play musical instruments, right? When I play the keyboard, I play the bass guitar, I play the flute, and a little of the drums, and a little of the lead guitar. So I'm basically a music person as well as a tech person. So I mean, it's rare, but then yeah, I find hope and I find love outside the tech base or tech space. I find myself playing instruments, sometimes in church. I also sing, sometimes at home. I also play the keyboard. I have a keyboard at home, so I play sometimes when I'm free. Yeah, that's it about me.
Great. Okay, so it's really nice to hear that you actually have a life outside work.
Yeah.
most most tech people are mostly glued to their laptops 24/7, and it doesn't
Uh,
speak well of us.
now, yes, it's actually the case now. I used to, but then I try to balance it in some cases, try to play.
Mm.
Well, a lot of times the laptop will actually be close by while you're playing, so you just have to be careful not to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's lovely to hear. Okay, so we want to speak based on your experience now. We want to know. I mean, you said you were a software engineer before you what's the word? Before you realized that testing is also very important, and we need professionals that solely are focused on just testing. Why is that? Like, how does testing and design work together? Like, why do you see the need for that?
Okay, so the first thing becomes I will just tell you a story that fits into what I'm going to answer now. I remember one of the times I was trying building a software product, and when you start up as a very young engineer, where you don't really work with much team, you just kind of have few of your friends around you guys are building the product. You build it, and to your own mind, you're satisfied with what you built because I mean, at least your buttons are working. You click on it, it gives you the output you think you want, and then you're able to say, "Listen, this is working. Let's give it out for people to use," and then you're satisfied. But all of a sudden, you realize that there is a disconnection between your product and the users. There is this disconnection, and the question becomes: what good is a software, or what good is a product when no user is able to use it, or when nobody is able to use the particular product? And that is what is happening in the software industry that people don't pay attention to when you don't have a good testing product. Now, the relationship between these two things is to understand that yes, we have testing and we have the product designs. We, as a tester, we try to bring you to the understanding of the users, of your end users. We try to think beyond what you know. It is one thing to design a product from your own standpoint, it is one thing for people to utilize what you've designed. So the reason why people are able to use WhatsApp quite friendly because it is something that the product team and the test team have come together to build, and that way they've understood the psychology of the people. So what testing does, or how testing helps in product design, is that we try to help you understand the real users, try to model ourselves at them. So as a tester, you must have the ability to be a user and to be a techie. And that is one thing people don't understand. Being a user and being a techie are two different things. But as a tester, you must try to put yourself in that stead. And so when we come to you in a product design meeting, we get to ask you questions. Why are you choosing this color? Why are you choosing this pattern? Why this button? Why these icons? Are our users, are they aware or are they familiar with this icon? For instance, the upload button icon to upload a thing. If you ever choose an icon that doesn't speak like an upload button icon, when a user sees it, they get to ask you, how do I upload a document? So we come in to understand the experiences of the users and what you're designing, and that we collaborate enough to give you a design that will help the users understand your product. So testing when it comes to product design is very important because we try to play the role of a real user and give you an understanding of how they are able to use the product and how your design improve their usage of the product.
Okay, that's that's really interesting because it reminds me, takes me back to a course I studied in uni. I think it was human and computer interaction design.
Absolutely.
Yes, and
HCI.
yes, exactly.
I
And
did it in school.
honestly, it was one of my favorite courses because it wasn't those courses where you just read and then write, but it was more practical. Like maybe even the upload button you were talking about. Now users are used to seeing like a file, like maybe that pin. And I know it comes like all the way from like ages, and then now people are learning systems, and then they know that okay, if you want to upload a file, you look for that office pin that gives you
Yeah.
yes. So that's really insightful and taking me back to what I learned. So I'm not so lost.
All right.
Okay. So we move on to the next question. We are still speaking about experiences, and we wanted you to highlight challenges you've encountered with testing, and then how you overcame them. Because I remember the first day I met you, the first thing you always say is you're always fighting with the developers.
Okay. So the first when you speak about challenges, the challenge is not about the role we play. The challenge is about the team. And so I believe more that we are we have a lot to do with regards to teamwork and communication. When it talks about testing and product design and the challenges that may occur in the course of that is the challenge of teams or the challenge of people or the challenge of miscommunication in a way by we I work with a team of very solid engineers, and I really applaud them for that. I work with a team of very solid product designers who has been in the field for a long time, and they are doing great in their work. And I think one of the things that has helped me is realizing that we have experts in that field, and they should be honored for their craft. They are good at what they do. So, in my early stages of testing, you would always have this issue with communication, not because the person doesn't want to listen to you, but because of the way it was communicated to the person. And that is a challenge. As long as you work in a team, you would always encounter that challenge. But the question becomes, how do you resolve it? One of the challenges we have is not in correcting or helping out with the design, it is about the tone of that communication. Everyone wants to have a proper product. The product designer wants to build the product prototype and then send a Figma file. It's accepted, and they are done with that particular one. They start working on different features. Nobody likes, no, to be honest, nobody likes working on something over and over and over again. It becomes boring and tiring. So they want to take up corrections from you. They want to take up some input from you. They want to do better. But sometimes it is the way in which those things are communicated to them. It sometimes makes them feel less of themselves. If you walk into a room and you meet a chef and you tell the chef that, listen, I want you to do this and do this, and then you make the chef feel less of important or feel less of himself, he would probably refuse to take instructions from you, even though what you're saying is right. So far in my career, in my years of experience, I've understood that most of the challenges we face within these guys or the product team or the different teams, it is not in the place of correction, but it is in the how the correction is being established. How do we communicate these things with them is very important. The tone of our communication, because they are good at their craft, it depends on how we present them. So if there's something wrong with the product, the design, it is left for me to understand this person has probably stayed all night working on this, or he or she has spent time working on this. How best do I put up these corrections? How best do I put up these submissions? How best do I put up these suggestions to him? So the mode, the tone, and the way I communicate can be a challenge or can be a possibility. So most issues we face is not basically on the correction of the word, it is actually in the mode at which the corrections are being established. So if we don't balance the tone and way of communication, we realize that we will have challenges indeed. So when you have such challenges, I think we have to go back, take a step backwards, listen to how we communicate with them. And that way they are willing to accept their corrections or suggestions we give. And also in our own case, like you say, testers always fight. Sometimes whatever the testers suggest must not always be taken. You should also learn to understand sometimes your suggestions may not always be, accepted. Yes, they will say we've noted it, but we are not fixing it. Yes, we've noted it, but not in this print or not in this design. So it can be noted but not fixed. If you expect that all your corrections are fixed at the same time, then there's a problem. So from the tester's point and from the designer's point, we should understand that communication is important and not all suggestions or corrections will always be accepted or established or put into practice or put into design. So that is the challenge we face, not in the corrections, not in the work, but I feel it's the mode of communication and the fact that because it is being suggested, it must be taken. That way, if we understand this thing from the standpoint of teams working together, that would help us to eliminate such challenges.
Okay, I think yes, that's one of the basic challenges. Okay, when it comes to the developers, but when it comes to like the consumer, the end user, are there any other challenges when it comes to that side of it?
Yes, when you speak about the consumer, one of the things to establish that is we have what called the usability testing. Recently, I just came back from Uganda where I had to go, train some people in my company in Uganda branch. I went to go train them on how to understand, how to read the gap between the product and the people. Now we have what called the usability testing. When we did a design, okay, let me share this down with you. When I left for Ghana here, I drove myself to the airport, and a friend came to pick my car back when I was flying out. When I got to Uganda, I was heading to sit at the driver's seat. Normally in Ghana we drive from the left. I didn't know that Uganda drive from the right. So I was heading to go sit down from the Uganda's part. Only for me to understand that the Uganda team, the Uganda country as a country, they drive from the right. Now, it was a different whole ideology for me having to see that Ugandans drive from the right. And so now I go into the country with a different mindset because I was coming from Ghana. So I had a different mindset of how things are being done in Ghana, whilst I am building a product for people in Uganda. So there is a cultural gap in that which could be a challenge. When there's a cultural gap between the end user and the team. So you come to a place where if I was being asked to design a product for Uganda from Ghana, I would design having the knowledge of Ghana fully because I am coming from Ghana. But until I got to Uganda and I understood that there are different ways of how they do things, that way I would now understand better how to design for them. So the challenges could be we not understanding the end users. So when I got there with the usability testing, I came to realize that I had a flaw in my designs because what they see and how they use the app is different from how we use the app in Ghana. Some of our icons and some of the way we've placed our cards are different from what we see. So that way you realize that the challenge is the users, the consumers, and the product designers, the market fit is not balanced. So at the end, we end up designing something we feel should be, not something we know should be. So there's a gap in knowledge between the feeling of what we do and the knowing of what the consumers have. So when we do that, when we don't pay attention to that knowledge, it becomes a problem for us. You get it? So I think one of the challenges we can have in that is that when there is no proper knowledge in the end users or the consumer's pattern and the one we're designing, it becomes an issue because there's a gap in knowledge of what should be and what should not. What we assume to be the pattern may not likely be what the pattern should be. So that actually is a challenge that could be fixed by properly having the knowledge of what you're designing and the consumer supervising. That's why we have this testing called usability testing, where they are allowed to test the app with minimal or no help at all. And at the end, we get feedback from them. That way, we're able to educate ourselves from the feedback we get from them. It opens our eyes to see things differently and from their own standpoint. And that way, we're able to build and produce things that will suit in our customers.
Okay. Yes. So if I get you, you spoke about understanding our consumers, and then also getting feedback from our consumers after they have used our products without minimal like training and all that. But
Absolutely.
one of the challenges I have faced based on experience is you are within right from repairment gathering, CRP, that's the conference room piloting, all the way to training. Now you've reached the UAT stage, and then now that you're expecting that they've been trained, we've given you UAT scripts that are even just like training manuals for you to follow. They still come back to us and make it look like they are still not familiar with the system. With something like that, what do you advise? Like, because for me, it feels like I have gone through all the milestones with you. I've introduced the product to you enough, but now you are still making it look like you are not looking. How do I handle such a situation?
So are you speaking from the product design standpoint or you're speaking from the
So I'm speaking from product design and okay, so for us, I would say we are testers, we are the same testers, we are the same people who do product design and all that. Like we are so many roles in one. So I'm speaking from the tester and then from the product design points.
okay? So I think the first thing is we let me make it very clear in this. So there are what we call SOPs, right? Now, when we have, let me give you a typical example of how things work, all right, from my industry, how my standpoint now. When we have our first prototype meeting, or when we have our first meeting on anything that has to do with the new sprint, that has to do with the new design, is a meeting where the product design guys are there, the product managers are there, the testers, the developers, which is the front end and the back end guys, the data team, they are all in the meeting. We bring up a product or a feature we want to build on, we now begin to talk about it based on what the PMs have produced for us to talk about. And most times these are in BRSs, which is business requirement specification, which we used to discuss about all these stuff. Now the PDs, which the product designers, know what to do per time in the course of that discussion. So they take their part and they begin working on it. Now, in the BRS, we use the BRS to formulate what we call the FSDs, which is the functional specification document, which is being handled by the mobile and back-end team and data team and the testers. Now, the FSDs is what use, or after a discussion in BRS is with the BRS, is the FSDs is what gives us a proper breakdown of what we intend to do in the development process. Now, we use the FSDs as well as what has been designed to create our own test plans and test cases. Good stuff. Now, for every phase, I think the problem here is for every phase, when you're done with your product design, we have a meeting where we all look at it. We compare what you designed based on what was discussed in the previous meeting. We analyze and say, okay, was this part of what we discussed? We thought about this, and then we work on that. Now, there's what called the sign-off meetings. The sign-off meetings are part of our SOPs, which is standard operating procedures. When we have a sign-off meeting on the product designs, it means that we all have sat down to review this design over and over again, and we've accepted it. So we are signing off that this design will hold. So if there's any need for us to change the design, that means we'll have what we call the change request, or probably call the enhancement, that we would have to log again, that will go through another cycle of sprint. So when we have a PD which is being signed off after the design has been signed off and accepted, it's being sent into a Figma file for the developers to start working on. That PD has been approved. So I think when you put these things in place, I would advise that before development starts fully, that the PD or the design must be signed off. That way, all the stakeholders which are involved in the building, the planning, and the development of the product or feature must have agreed. So I think there is an issue in the communication and understanding that we have agreed to this particular design, and so we are signing off this design to commence development. That way, we are all on the same page. Nobody comes back and tell you, oh, this thing I've forgotten. If there's any need for enhancement or for adjustment, then there should be a request. That will mean that it must also go through the stakeholders to look at it and say, is this worth requesting for changes now, or it can be done in the version 2.0, or in the next sprint, or in the next enhancement section. So that way, if you have a sign-off meeting for product design, it helps you to align with all teams and all stakeholders, so that this challenge of we having to change and say, I'm not aware or in the known of this is eliminated. We all agree to it and we all signed off for this particular design. So we will have to continue with it, except there's an enhancement which we can take off for the next sprint. Does that work?
Yes, that works. Okay. Yes, I mean, for best practices that works, but sometimes that's not what happens on the ground. We're Africans. Sometimes, there's this there's this back and forth. I mean, they do say, okay, let's move to the next stage. I mean, in most times, like that's what happens. But standard, like best practices, that's what's supposed to happen. So you are supposed to agree on the design before the development will even start in the first place. Okay, so that's well noted. I think I can argue my points next time when I go for a client session.
Now, from your standpoint and what you're talking about, you'd also have to look at the risk attached. I believe for every sprint, we have a time allocated to that. Or for every design, we already put that to a design, you have a time allocated to it. Now, if you keep on changing designs, now it's going to be more expensive for us based on our time frame. The risk is that we would never get to the end of our design, because now we have to keep on changing. We've not come to an agreement. Look at the impact it will have on the product, the risk and the impact. So I think we also don't pay attention to that. There's always the risk and impact section we need to pay attention to. What is the risk of this delay? All these things are factored in before we can even make a request or change. What is the risk? We've promised customers that we are pushing out this particular feature in 2 weeks. And on the second week You're bringing a change. What's the risk of that? What's the impact in the business? How would the customers even perceive our product? Because we've already given them a highlight. Okay, these are features come up in this sprint. So when you look at the impact and risk, that would also help to build your basis and your argument that now this particular change cannot occur in this particular sprint. So if you look, most times when you have those meetings, do pay attention to the risk and the impact of the change at that time to the product and the timeline we have. If it's going to impact the timeline very, very, very greatly, then it will be suggested that it's been moved to an enhancement or to a next sprint. Else, if it's something that can be done without much interruption or much impact, then it could be considered based on the stakeholders' agreement. That way, it can be considered.
That's well noted. Okay. So we are moving on to the fact that you worked with various organizations across different regions, and then we want to know how do you adapt to testing strategies to meet different markets and different industries?
Um, that's a very wonderful question, and that is the reason why, honestly, I went to Uganda because we have a company or a branch or a company in Uganda. Our company also has a company in Uganda, and trust me, the worst thing you can do as a test engineer or as a tester is to assume a thing. It is very deadly to assume. You don't assume. You should try as much as possible to know, because we've assumed a lot of things that has cost us more. And I can tell you for a fact, it is an assumption that has caused us to go back to redesign the thing again. And the time we wasted. So culturally, it's important to adapt to the people by trying to know. I had to go to Uganda to understand the Ugandans. I had to go to Uganda to understand how they think and how they use our product. I had to go to Uganda to conduct some tests amongst them to know how best they utilize our product as well. So culturally is important. And of course, you're working with different people. To some people, green can be a taboo. To some persons, pink can be seen to be a different note together. To some persons, the way you position your text or the font you use can trigger some things to them. So these are cultural things that you must pay attention to by research. And that's why we have the market fit research. You go and also pay attention to those researches, listen to them, understand the people. You can't build a product that you don't understand the people. You can't build a product that you've not been keen to that people. Yes, we want to build a product, but we can only be a product if we are keen to the people. So we must be, the cultural diversity is very important. How do you manage them? By trying to go there, by trying to make research on them, by trying to understand how they see things. It's very important. It was in Uganda that my eyes were open to see the way they perceive things and how they go about things. I had to listen to them. I went in there to listen, to engage the people by listening more. I listened to their troubles. I listened to their traditions. I listened to how they do things. I listened to some of the things they don't even accept. And so it shaped my mind. If there is no proper way of listening to these people, you would end up building a product that you think is right, but it's not the better thing to do. So culturally, we have different cultures and different people. So you must listen to the people as much as you can. So it's important to listen to the people before you start building. You can't just build because you want to build. We all have the tendency to build a thing, but the question becomes, are you building? I always ask this question in the meeting. Are we building the right product? Are we building the right product? The second question, are we building the product right? So there are two different questions. Are we building the product right? Are we building the right product? Because these are also what influences our building by understanding the people we are building for. So if I understand the people and their culture, it makes me understand these questions. Are we building the product right? Or are we building the right product? And these questions or these answers can help us from the cultural understanding of the people to know what at all we are building. So it's important to understand the culture by listening to people, listen to them, know how they perceive things, and know how they see fit for that product.
Okay. that's that's very interesting. I think many a times we feel like okay, we are building the products, but we don't try to even understand the consumers because they are the ones going to use it in the first place. And so trying to understand them. But what happens in a situation where um I mean for us Oracle is built based on best practices. Okay, and so sometimes there are even certain features that um, are not available in the system at the moment because they are not it's not best practice. But you have clients that dolly they want that feature but it's wrong. Like maybe their process is even wrong in the first place. How do you try handle such a situation?
So, you know, the you're building for a large, you know, number of people. Like from what you're saying, Oracle is a product and the users are not comfortable with it. Am I right?
No, I'm saying that it's normally built based on best practices.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And
So it's built based on best practices, but sometimes you see some clients are handling like that business process wrongly. Do you understand it? Let me give an example. So okay, so let's say procurement. Okay, you're supposed to request, and then once you request, it goes to the PO stage, and then before you raise an invoice. But some people would um, some people would want the request to. I think we Richard, can you help? We had some funny um, example that we had to go back and forth around that with procurement. Richard, okay, he's off the call, but we it it wasn't best practice, and then now we now have to change the whole structure. Aha, okay, so I remember. So they they have this order management process where when they want to service their trucks, they request they make the request to go through order management, and now the invoice will be raised, and then they wanted to involve their external like the external party that is going to. So let's say I work for Bates. Okay, I work for Bates, and then I bought a car from Toyota Ghana. Okay, and Toyota has this policy that servicing is done by them. If you do it any other place, like at your own um, expense or anything, you don't bring it back to them. So even if you do the servicing yourself, okay, um, like you lose your warranties, like they have some clause around that. So now they wanted Oracle to replicate that process. Meanwhile, it is not a standard process in the Oracle application. And then they were saying that they were not going to sign off if that process was not replicated. And I honestly, we don't know how we are going to do that for them.
That is not a testing issue. I think it has to do with. I mean, of course, I've worked in that same shoes where we and that is why documentation is very important. Sincerely, when such things happen, what happens is that we go back to the original things, the services we provide, and this is how it works, right? So Oracle has a way they produce or they do their product, and this is how it works. Are you in the known? Yes, you're in the known, and this what now you come in and tell me you want a change in that. Now the question becomes, what you want us to do is not what we are producing. But the question is, can we do what you want? Yes. However, for we to do what you want, that will be a whole different customization for you. So we cannot look at because of one client or two clients are not using the product the way it's designed and then change it. That's where business rules come into play, and that's why the stakeholders who are there to make the rules. You don't make the rules. That's why the business guys come and say, listen, let's weigh the options we have. We have 4,000 users in this particular platform and they're okay with it. Probably 20 want the change. Now the question becomes, what is the percentage at which we are going to accept these guys? Are we going to customize this to suit only them and leave the remaining 4,000? Or we are going to look at the business implication and say, okay, you know what? We can go ahead and customize this, but for just these users. It is not in the state of testing to say it is not done that way. Because, listen, I'm very careful not to move ourselves away from what testing is to going to other businesses. In as much as we get to understand those parts, but there are certain decisions that, for instance, testers don't decide what to release. We only give you the status of the product per time at the time. So at that time, this is the status of the product. You know the risk involved, you know what is involved. You as a release manager or the stakeholders can decide to release. The same applies to the business part. So if you have come to us and you decide, this is how, based on our best practices, this is what we do. And then in turn, you're saying you want this, then there's a problem. It's a whole business ideology that we need to go back and say, are we going to change our agreement to sign off a particular document because this was not the original plan and this was not the original function or functionality in this product? So that way, the business guys would have to look into that and say, okay, from all our indications, this is how the product works. But if you ever want any customization of any sort, that would request a change of documentation and a change of sign-off. Is that clear?
Yes, I think that's clearer now. Okay, so we are moving on to you being passionate about mentoring young talents. In your mentorship journey, what are some of the key qualities you look for in upcoming testers, like people who want to enter the testing space, and how would you nurture that potential?
for for those who want to move into testing, I honestly don't want to see people coming to testing as an option they have because they don't have any other thing to do. Testing is not the last resort for anybody. Testing, let me borrow the words of the lawyers, testing is a noble profession or a noble career path in tech, which must be seen from a place of pride and honor. So if you must come into testing, one, you must come into a place that you are coming because you must be critically a one who is more critical in their understanding and analysis. You must be one who is willing to pay attention to details. Okay. And also because testing is not an isolated path, it has to do with so many teams. You must be one that knows how to communicate. You can always learn, you can always become effective, but if you don't know how to communicate with the team or with the people, you cannot be a good tester. You must be one who does not assume a thing, but you're willing to be honest to a particular problem. So you must be one who is not assuming, but you must be honest to say, this is not working, and this is the reason why this is not working. So one, you must be one who can communicate effectively. You must be one who can think critically. You must be one who is good and pays attention to details.
Yeah, Pearl. It seems our speaker's network isn't favoring him. Can you get in touch with him?
Hello. So sorry about that. I think our network went out, but we are back. Sorry.
Okay, so for that. Yes, so we mentioned a few qualities that we need for mentorship. One is ability to pay attention to details. Second one has to do with critical thinking, analysis. Third one has to be potent enough to give honest feedback, not assuming, always give feedback. And fourth one is to learn how to communicate with people. You must learn how to communicate. So for you to go into the proper mentorship in Q and to become effective is one, pay, be critical in your thinking and analytical. Do well to pay attention to details. Learn how to communicate effectively. And fourth one, don't assume. Be honest in your feedback. Don't assume the thing is working. Make sure you try it out and be sure that it is working or it's not working before you can give your verdict or your feedback. So give honest feedbacks.
Mm. Okay. All right. So I think you've also answered the question I had next about an advice to someone who is looking to build their career in testing. So now, what do we do if I want to enter the testing space? What's the next thing I need to do apart from the soft skills that I need to have? What are some of the qualifications? What are some of the tools? What are some of the skills that I need to be a very good tester like you?
It's been a journey, but for you to be a very great tester, I think you need a community. You need a community to tell you what is happening and how to go there. It could take me 8 years or 10 to get to where I am, but if you have a community that is passionate about growing, You would learn the basic things. The first thing you need to do to become a good tester is to try to join a community. And we have a community called MOT, Ministry of Testing, that helps and also encourage people and teaches them how to go about testing. And sometimes we organize webinars to teach you how to use the tools in testing, right? We have various tools we can use, and sometimes those tools will also involve you working with a team before you can have access to those tools. But the first thing I would advise is join the community of testers. You can join the MOT Accra Ghana testing community. That way you get to understand how things are being done. I will teach you how you can go about testing. Secondly, you have to be willing to learn at all times, because there are tools you're going to learn how to use. And thirdly, you must also know you have to do a lot of documentation. You always write test cases, you always write test plans, you always have to document things. So you will be able to familiarize yourself with Google Sheets. Different companies have different things they use. So they have different things they use. Some companies use Google Sheets, some use Jira, some use TestRails. There are different tools that can be utilized, and that again depends on the team or the firm or the company you join. But the first thing to do is to join the testing community, which will open up your eyes to enhancing and harnessing yourself in those tools. That way you get better, and then when you have the opportunity to join a bigger team, it will be familiar. You'll be familiar with the tools and not something that is new to you. So first off, join a testing community to become a good tester.
Okay. I think we are getting to the end. I know people are eager to ask questions. We want you to share one success story where testing made a significant impact on the product's success in your journey. And then after this, we open the floor for questions.
There has never been any non-success story about testing. At all times, there has always been good stories about testing. Again, like I said, there is I think there's a thin line between what we do and what we don't do as testers. As a tester, you don't call the shot for release or deployment. No, you don't. But the good thing about testing, which is a success story to everyone who is a tester, is that you as a tester, you are able to update the team and the stakeholders with the current status of the application or the product at time. So you tell them the risk involved, you tell them the defects which are open or which are found, or bugs which are found. So when you make them know, so as a tester, yours is to create an awareness of the product status per time. So that alone is a success for you to be able to say, this product, from our testing executions, we have past cases, we have 4 failed cases, and these failed cases are minor cases. So to me, these are the reports I have. Now, the VP, okay, for us, the director of mobile or engineering can say, okay, based on this report and status we have, we can now release. And so, for instance, I'll give an instance. We when we are launching our iOS product, this is just a secret, it's something I'm sharing with you. When we are launching our iOS product, we had so many issues, we had bugs on it. And so I don't call the shot. Now, we've told the people that we are launching this product in a particular date. As at the time of launching, we are still testing. So I gave my report. I said, oh, based on our test report, this happened. We have this pending. We have this. We have that.
I think we are live on YouTube. So if it would worry you, maybe you can just skip it.
I'm giving an instance. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I gave report of what we have for that particular product. Now, I have reported to the stakeholders what I found, because that's my findings, and they need to know the status of the product per time. Now they go into a meeting, they make their meeting and discussion and say, you know what, let's release. Yes, there are bugs in the system, but because it will not stop the business continuity, it can be fixed afterwards, right? It's a back end thing that can be fixed again and deployed, right? So they met the decision and we went live. Even though we had issues or product or bugs in that product, we went live. So we don't call the shot, but we give you that this is the status. And that alone is a good testimony. We don't decide whether we should go or not, but we let you know in awareness and in honesty that this is what we find, but you can decide to go live with it. And I think that's one thing we should know, that we don't call the shot, but the beauty of it that is that you are aware of it. So when there's an issue, you're vindicated because you already told them that this is the state of it. And when everything goes on well, you are happy because apparently you are also in the know of the product state at that time. So it's a testimony for you at all times. There is nothing bad about it. You just tell them this is what we have the time with the product, and they can make the shot.
Okay. I think I learned a lot, and I think there's a lot I can relate to with my work here as well. So we are opening the floor for questions now. I think Joshua wanted to ask a question, but he's gone off. So let me prompt him. But for those online, if you have any questions, I think this is the floor. Ikena has said a lot, and so for us to know that we've grasped everything, I think we should ask more questions. Hi, Richard. There are no questions from our audience. Okay, please let me try and prompt Joshua. He had some questions, so Joshua. It's time for questions. So I wanted to know if.
Yeah, I have a question. Let me join again.
All right, sure. Okay, so Joshua is joining in. Please let's give him a few minutes. He said his network is messing up.
Okay.
Okay, he's joined now. Joshua, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for your patience. Yeah. So to start with, I wanted to know for the MOT, the Ministry of Testing, if someone wants to join, are there any requirements, or do they have an official website that you can actually find more and read more?
Yes. So we have our chats, our platform for that. I will share the link with Pearl in case you want that. She would also reach out. I mean, she will send that to you as well. We have a platform where we call our meetings.
Wow, thank you so much. So I'll be Pearl. I've been looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Don't worry. Okay. Richard, rich opinions. You can't tell me you come on this session and not ask any question. Joshua, the floor is yours.
And sorry, this is just a follow-up question. So for testers, is there a lucrative role in Ghana? Is it like compared to other roles in IT? From your experience, is there a lucrative role?
Yes. So I think there has been so much. I was speaking to Pearl about it because people don't know about testing, and it's actually is a concern to us in our community. People don't know about testing, and so people assume that testing is anybody can just test. I've seen companies hire people that did political science just because they didn't see testers, and so they convert them to testers. Testing, most companies now are being open and they are being aware of the importance of testing in their circle, in the SDLC. And so they are looking at for tests. I was saying, Pearl, every month, I don't receive less than 3 to 4 requests for testers.
Wow.
I get rules in Ghana. Banks, people are hitting me up. Oh, we need testers. We need this. We need that, and it's important because of the utilization. People are now using products, and they are seeing the importance of testing in product. So that way, the roles are open, but the community is not strong, and we are trying to build a community of testers where you know where to reach out for or reach out to when there's need for a testing role or a testing job. And we also post job adverts in our community. We post job adverts there, and people apply, and they do well. So yes, it's lucrative, but just that people don't know about it, and that's what we're trying to do, to bring awareness to the people and to the public in Ghana. In fact, one of our goals in 2025 is to get at least 40% awareness with regards to software testing in Ghana. And so we've started working in schools. On Saturday next week, I'm going to ACC, Academic College, to speak about testing in robotics. So we're going to schools, Ashesi, University of Ghana, KUST. We are going to talk about testing so that these young ones will understand that there is still more to testing than just what we have in school. There is still more to testing than just the normal software engineers. There's still roles and paths and career path in testing that they can pursue and be known. And so we're also trying to align with different companies to even send our young testers there for internships to become better in their craft. And before you know it, they're being adopted or they're being employed as full staff. So yes, there's a lot we're working on towards next year, and we are really focused on putting up awareness for testing amongst the people and amongst companies.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Joshua, we've given you $100 a pop. I'll be waiting for it. Anyway, any more questions before we end the session? Michael, Raymond, Richard, any more questions or any more contributions?
Hello, Pearl.
Hi.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm abreast with the information you have shared here with us this evening. I mean, I didn't know much about product testing and design, but mine is a request that there's going to be a part 2 of this. By then, I would have read around the whole topic and then the whole thing. Then, when I come back, when you organize the part 2 of this, I can ask more questions. Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like you are actually seeing a future because there's a there's a part 2 in the pipeline.
Yes.
So it's just left with scheduling the dates for that. So I think we'll give you enough room and enough time to read about testing, and we hope you join us too as a community. So maybe
Sure.
Ikena would give us tips on how we can join his community of testers, because I know he's been organizing certain events, networking events, and trying to bring testers together. So I think after Richard makes his submission, then Ikena will give us more details about his testing community, and then we take it from there. Oh, he's gone off. Okay.
Yeah, I thought he would join.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, he's
Okay,
back.
he's joined back. Okay. Richard, the floor is yours. Which opinions?
You're mute if you're speaking. Okay, you're muted if you're speaking.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm having a serious internet roller coaster, so I apologize. So yeah, I was late, so I sort of missed out quite a lot today. But so I know he shared a lot. So I want to say thank you to Pearl.
It looks like your
It's
network
not
is
all
not.
about testing. There's so much information and that has been gained from like experience that he's always willing to share. So yeah, I'm having a terrible time. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me? I'll just type it then.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that I'm looking platform and thank you, Pearl.
Thank you to Richard, even though we didn't hear you, so maybe you can type it in the chat so that we can all read it. Okay. Okay, now so maybe the closing words and then you telling us about your testers community, and then we can wrap up.
Okay, so thank you, Michael. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Richard, to Richard and Raymond. And again, thank you to Pearl for this section. Honestly, Michael has given that work. He said we have a 2.0 version, and I'm glad. Because I think is really is a proof to me that there are people who still don't understand what testing is and they will want to explore that particular field. And it's really encouraging to me to see. The truth is, I'm going to tell you, anytime I go in a place and I speak about testing, I always have people tell me that you need to come back or you need to talk about it again or we need to know more about it because they are beginning to know and to see the impact testing does in the product, in the software SDLC. So in the software development life cycle, testing is important. And so we have not paid attention to that career path here in Ghana. And so our job or our cry is that we want to raise a community where our voices can be heard, where we can speak and then people will understand and appreciate what we do. Testing is a noble and honorable career path that you need to choose. What I always say that one of the things we do as testers is to build trust. We build trust between our customers and our products. If you, Joshua and Michael, let me ask this question. If you use WhatsApp today and it always keeps breaking or crashing, would you use WhatsApp again?
No, I'll change to an alternative.
Everybody wants an alternative. We want something working well. I remember one time when WhatsApp had a downtime, there was a lot of move from WhatsApp to Telegram. So people had to start installing Telegram just to continue chatting. They wanted a continuity in their business, in their chats. So you know what? Let's go to Telegram. Sometimes people tell you, you know what? If you can't send this particular document in WhatsApp, let's go to Telegram. So everybody wants a continuity. What do? We build that trust. We let the people understand what our product is and ensure that our product is safe for them to use. Imagine someone who is testing and you're testing a bank application and you make a mistake with regards to calculating, let's say, the taxes, or probably a place where you're testing the product and then you make a mistake of where the person is able to transfer money. So when a person transfers money, he gets double of the amount on his account. At the end, you're killing the bank because the person is getting more than what he or she should get. And when you give access and say we are done with testing this feature, and they go back to deploy that product, at the end we are having this feature, that this bug or defect, we are killing the bank. And so there's no trust with the product because a user can always get more than what he or she requires. We are losing. So we build that trust that you can use our product and our product is safe for you to use. It is one thing to build a product, it is one thing to build a safe product that people can embrace when they use them. So we build trust. Testers build trust for the product, for the customers, and for the company. We build that trust. And we help as much as possible to create awareness of the status of the product. So you are always in the known of what the product is doing and the status of the product. That way, we help to preserve the sanity of the stakeholders. They know at what point what they're doing and what the response is from the product standpoint. So testing is a very wonderful place and career path to choose, because at that point you get to see the product from a holistic view, from the user standpoint, from the engineer standpoint, from the business standpoint. You see everything, and then you begin to make your decisions and your findings. That is the beauty of testing. And so that is my last word for you. Testing is important in every firm that has to do with software product. It's important to have a testing team or a test team. That way, they are able to help you build your trust between your end users, your business, and your products. So I look forward to having us embrace that feature. If you're here and you're looking at to try this path in your business or your life or your career, it's a very wonderful path you can try. And I want us to pay attention to it, because at the end it's fulfilling. It's really fulfilling to be a tester and to be a test engineer. Thank you.
Okay, so you skipped the part where you had to give us the report to your testing community.
But I didn't give you the
Report to your testing community.
like I said, it's simple. I'm gonna share the link. Probably I'm gonna share the link and then you give it to them. They can always join. It's a WhatsApp group, it's free, it's open. You join, and we begin to groom you to get you to know. I mean, it's because you want to get awareness, is a free thing. Nobody's been asked to pay for it. It's free. Joining and then we grow together.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kina. Um, we are really grateful. I think for me personally, I've learned a lot that I'm going to carry with me on a Monday and on a new month. And I think it's going to change a lot of the way I work, honestly. And I mean, for me personally, I've gained a lot from this interaction with you. Yes, so I just want to say a big thank you for honoring our invitation for our monthly webinar. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Cheers. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay.
And thank you
y-
so much for organizing this, and
yes.
also much for
Thank
the
you
both of
so
you.
much for joining too as well. I mean, adding up to the numbers every day, and I think every day I get new faces join, but I think the consistent people have been Joshua and Richard, all as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Michael, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you on our session next month. We'll be talking
Right.
about, yes, we'll be talking about resilience. And now we are coming out of the professional era, and then we are looking at personal lives as well. So we would have some people who have been resilient. Like I know their stories, how hard it has been for them, and how they've been able to come through. So we want to learn from them, especially in this hot economy. Yes, so that's what we are speaking on next month. The details will come out very soon. So yes, thank you, and then we hope to see you next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.